In local news today, the Chicago Cubs are continuing their hot streak as they've won 20 out of the last 26 games in the month of August. Winning again, once again last night, the Cubs won 5-3 over the Nationals. Nico Ohumar had 2 hits and scored 2 runs as the Cubs dispatched the Nationals 5-3 to continue their win streak of 5 games. First pitch today will be at 12:35 as Jordan Wicks for the Cubs will face off on the mound for Mitchell Parker of the Washington Nationals. The Chicago White Sox lost once again to the Mets yesterday, 5-3. The Sox are currently on a 9-game losing streak, and today will be first pitch, hopefully looking to get a win at 1:10 as Garrett Crochet will be on the mound to face off against Sean Mannany for the New York Mets. Chicago Sky look to bounce back today as they play the Connecticut Suns at 6 o'clock p.m. as the Chicago Sky dropped another heartbreaker to the Indiana Fever on Thursday and are currently on a 5-game losing streak. And that has been your local news as we get ready now for the truth about Chicago sports. And welcome everyone. Welcome back to the show. Rico, welcome my friend. How's it going?
Man, it's going great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you know, it's always a pleasure having you, Rico. How's it been going, my friend? I know you had a birthday. That had to be great, huh?
Yeah, getting a little older, but
oh yeah,
yeah, it was great, man. Just taking a little R&R for sure.
Oh, and nothing wrong with that, man. Great to have you join once again. I'm glad you're able to relax and enjoy yourself. And now it's on once again with the truth about Chicago sports. And yeah, so the first thing that I'm gonna really kind of cover right now is Chicago Cubs. Here's a team, Rico, that everybody thought was pretty much dead in the water. And make no mistake about it, as they sit 10 games behind the Central League leader, Milwaukee Brewers, they still have a long uphill battle for the month of August. And it's not even sure that they can do it. I mean, you're looking at another 26 games, and they won 20 out of the 26 games in the month of August, and there's still 10 games out of first. So that shows you how porous of an effort they gave in the beginning. But here's the flip side, Rico. They're 5 games out of the wild card race. And that's where it gets a little tricky. And so now the Cubs legitimately have a small, sluggish chance to make the wild card. Mm-hmm. And as I currently correct myself, no, they're currently now 4 games out of getting a wild card spot. If they can stay hot for the month of September, I could see them securing this wild card spot. My question to you, just being a Chicago sports fan, is that enough? Or is the Cubs season still a disappointment?
I mean, considering where they're coming from, I think that is a pretty good achievement. But, obviously I think each team has that, championship aspiration, or they want to go deep. I think really the most, or I guess one of the things that's been most impressive to me is kind of what Cody Bellinger has been able to do thus far lately, along with Nico Hoerner, the way that they've been able to start hitting the baseball a lot better. So, I mean, I think that's intriguing, but I like the fact that they're starting to heat up. So.
Yeah, I do too. And, I thought it was a fire sale when it was coming around All-Star break, heading up into the trade deadline. And now, as we sit here, it seems like what was a lost season and something that was going to be completely a wash is now a chance for some type of redemption. My thing is that I'm still questioning the bullpen. I'm still questioning starting pitching rotation. So really, I kind of feel like this is more for fan as opposed to being something that we could look at and say, hey, oh, that's wonderful. This team has a legitimate shot. And now I have seen crazy things happen with a team reaching the postseason and then making a crazy run. And one thing about baseball, if any other sport, anything can happen in the playoffs. I mean, all your pitching gets hot out of nowhere. your hitting gets hot out of nowhere. The next thing you know, you end up in the World Series. So I do understand why the Cubs are making this last gas push for the playoffs for a wild card spot. But with such questionable pitching, I'm really starting to wonder if this is just all just to sell more tickets, Rico. And that's some truth right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting that you bring up pitching because, just looking here, I think it's interesting to see what is going to happen, I guess, with Jordan Wicks, who the Cubs have brought up, and, he hasn't pitched in quite some time. So I'm looking to see if the Cubs have actually found something and if he can be a major shot in the arm for the Cubs moving forward as far as pitching is concerned.
That's very true, and that's a great breakdown assessment. Once again, this is The Truth About Chicago Sports with your host, Rico and Mac, back in Studio 14 once again live. Please call us up, 847-931-1300. Once again, 847-931-1300. We want to hear your calls. Please come in, call, talk to us, let us know your thoughts. We're talking Chicago Cubs right now. We're going to talk Chicago Sky. We're going to talk Chicago Bears. We're going to be joined by Chicago sports journalist and writer Francisco Avila later. Francisco Avila is going to be joining us as a guest to sit and talk Chicago Bears with us as well as their season gets ready to kick off next Sunday. Major announcement, Rico. Guess what that is, my friend?
What's that?
Oh, my goodness. For all of our listeners out there, we are moving next week to Saturday, 10 to 2. That's right. Starting September 7th, we are moving. The Truth About Chicago Sports is going to move to 10 to 12. 10 to 12. 2 hours show. We're gaining an hour now. And I'm sorry. Once again, I apologize. The call-in number, 847-931-1410. 847-931-1410. I apologize for that early. I was so excited about getting the announcement out there. I gave the wrong number by accident. I was just so excited because, yes, we're gaining another hour to the show. We're going to be moving to Saturday, obviously, because of football Sunday. And so basically we're going to be doing not only our normal sports show, but it'll also be a Bears pregame as well, as we'll get to sit and break down most Bears games. Obviously we won't be able to touch the Thursday night game, which will be a post-game kind of deal. But that's essentially what is happening for us with The Truth About Chicago Sports. We'll be sitting and turning now to Saturday, 10 to 12. Every Saturday, and we're going to be breaking down all Chicago sports, and then we're going to have in that second hour is going to be a little bit of a kind of a Bears pregame show where we're going to be looking for callers to call in, give us their thoughts about the game, predictions about the game's hopes and for the season, and we're just going to have a great time with that. I'm really looking forward to that, Rico. This is a huge thing as we are becoming a little bit bigger and bolder,
Absolutely, yeah. Gaining that hour, and it's going to be exciting to talk definitely a little bit more intensive about the Chicago Bears, and hopefully maybe loosely jump into some topics around the league, and maybe help some people win some fantasy football.
Oh, definitely, yes. We're going to be breaking down fantasy. We're going to be breaking down all sports, and we're going to also get a chance to now cover a little bit more national news as well as local news. So I just think that that's really a great thing for all of the listeners out there in the Fox Valley area, as you get a taste of a full good 2 rounds of me and Rico every Saturday. The Truth About Chicago Sports. I'm looking very forward to that, my brother, and it's going to be a huge debut next week. So everybody get your popcorn out and get ready, because it's going to be a blast.
Yep.
Switching gears from baseball, as the Chicago Cubs are streaking hot, and we hope that they continue on, and we know what's going on the South Side as they're riding a 9-game losing streak, as baseball is horrible over there. I want to focus on the Chicago Sky, as they had a big game against the Indiana Fever, the rivalry game, whether people want to say it is or not. It's a rivalry as a team, not just Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, although a lot of times that is how things are promoted and hyped. And the Chicago Sky got blasted out the gym, embarrassing, after winning their last matchup and really playing some of the hardest basketball I thought I had seen come out of that team. We see now, after the trade for Marbury, this team is devoid of now a 3-point shooting wing, and the deficiencies at point guard are even more evident as Caitlin Clark just completely drubbed them this last game. And this team seems to be somewhat in disarray as Kennedy Carter missed her second game. Since they've come back from the break, they've lost 6 out of the 7 games they've played coming back from the break. I believe Kennedy Carter's only played in like 3 of them. And I'm asking Rico, I'm asking you, do you think that they can hold on? Should they be concerned with holding on to this final playoff spot?
Yeah, I mean, so it's unfortunate, excuse me, that Carter has been out. It looks like reportedly it's just due to an illness, and it's cost her a couple games. And I think they were even saying that a team practice had been canceled because there were several other players that had come down with an illness. And so, to come down the stretch like this, I think once you see that she's out, you see just how important the point guard position is going to be for this unit if they're going to try to, go ahead and soak that last playoff spot. And then also, too, they got to figure out what they want to do on the wing. I think that is something that you definitely just alluded to. And so, yeah, I think it is worthwhile for the Sky to get this experience. It's not quite like the play-in, I would say, for the Chicago Bulls if they were to get there. But I think that this would be huge, for Angel Reese and these players to get into a playoff situation and then grow from there. So I think that it is the sooner they get into a playoff, the better off it is. So hopefully they're able to hold on.
Yes, indeed. I agree 100%. And, I don't want to really linger on this topic because I just feel like there's too much that's thrown out there for people to try to get clickbait by trying to sell a nasty or negative narrative. But something that really just, came across me in Chicago Sun-Times newspaper, and I don't know if you got a chance to see that, was this article showing the Shields giving that hard foul, which was classified as a flagrant foul against Caitlin Clark. And, the sentiment around a lot of Chicago's seeing that, including myself, was that, here in this broadcasting industry that we're in, you want to have integrity, you want to have some truth, but there is some level of protection, especially for the areas that you're reporting on. And I just feel like as a Chicago broadcasting media station, there is a certain degree or a level of integrity that we need to hold for the players that we are trying to root for to win us championships. And, Miss Shields has won a championship for the Chicago Sky and has been, or at least has helped been a part of that championship team. A lot of people seem to kind of sleep on that. And so I just kind of feel like that us as Chicago media, Chicago broadcasters, it's kind of our job to, yes, we're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell what's really going on. We're not going to hold back when it's bad play, even when it's flagrant or foul play. But it's not our job to bury that said player or to try to paint that player into a negative light. I leave that for other media outlets to do. Let Indiana's media do that. But when it comes to Chicago sports, we should still always have our Chicago sports teams backed. Now, a nasty play, was it a basketball play? I don't agree. I think it was a very unnecessary hard foul, considering that the Sky were getting drubbed. But at the same time, I also don't think it's our job to come out here and be negative towards our own teams, the ones that we're covering, and it's our job to promote and sit and want to celebrate when they're winning and doing well. And now this is the same team or said player that we were sitting and throwing dirt on. I don't think that that's the way that this should be. So I just, want to give my quick thoughts on that. I know you have a thought on it. Go ahead and give it, Rico, and then we'll move on and continue talking about sports.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, look, the Sky are in a tough situation. I mean, they're trying to, make the playoffs again and try not to avoid it for the first time since 2018. So I think that that's probably where the real focus should be at. for a club that's 2-8 right now, and is really trying to find its way into the playoffs, and really has a young, exciting core. And I do understand, kind of where you're coming from, with the flagrant foul, and just, how that is probably being depleted. So I do understand that. I mean, I do feel that, yes, we should support our players, and I do understand where you're coming from with, like, leave that to the opposition if they're going to, go ahead and trash our players, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like I said, I'm going to call it like it was. And I didn't think it was a basketball play. It was unfortunate that it happens. And sometimes, in the heat of the battle in sports, things can sometimes get chippy. But was it the worst thing that's ever happened out there in the WNBA? Heck no. I've seen way harder fouls. I've seen harder fouls against Angel Reese. For gosh sakes. So, I'm not going to act like what she did was just this completely nasty thing. It could have probably been avoided, but at the same time, I'm not going to let that be the focus on the fact that the Chicago Sky are struggling. That's what the real focus needs to be at. This team is struggling, and the reason why they're struggling is from key areas of lack of having a 3-and-D point guard and having a stretch wing. And then you throw in the fact that Camilla and Angel are rookies, and they are still finding a way. Their games are not complete. And that's one thing we have to remember. Their post game, they have so much more work that they still, both of them, need to do with working on their post games, because most of the times they do have the size advantage, but they still are not able to get in proper footwork. They get called for traveling, lose the ball on the inbound pass, still struggling against to identify the double teams. These are all rookie things that they did not deal with when they were in college, because when they were in college, they were the best players on their respective teams, and most of the time, the best players on the floor. In the W, people are just as good. They're just as good. And so they have to learn and find their way. And we're seeing those struggles. And let's not forget, Coach Spoon is a first-year head coach, and she's going to make mistakes in her coaching decisions, as well as a first-year head coach that she has to learn from. So as we get ready to come down the final stretch, I believe they have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 9 games to finish out the season. As we get ready to finish these last 9 games, my hope is that, they can get back to winning ways, at least finish these last 9 games above 500. And yeah, it would be nice to see them in the playoffs, even though I don't think that's going to, materialize into anything of a deep run. Like you said, the experience is going to be really good for the players, and I think it's just important that the core, and that's the most important part, and the core of Angel Reese, Kennedy Carter, and Camila Cardosa, I think that's the most important thing, is getting the experience for those players.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. And I think, too, with Angel, I think that one of the things that Stacey King was talking about on his podcast, Give Me the Hot Sauce, he was just like, she's doing great. It's just more or less just learning the WNBA game and really taking her time. He's talking about the missed shots inside and how she gets a lot of rebounds and things like that. But I just felt like offensively, she's probably rushing things a little bit. And I think that just comes, again, with just timing and understanding the professional game. And then going back to DeShields and that foul, I mean, she did try to pick, Caitlin Clark up off the floor. Obviously, Caitlin Clark didn't want any of that. So it was just clearly just frustration. Again, this is a team that is 2-8 over its last 10. The frustration is boiling over, especially when you want to win. And then there's the pressure of you just don't want to miss out on the playoffs. And I think that this experience is going to go a long way for this particular Sky team. So it's just one of those things where it's just a learning experience. It really is just a learning experience.
And it looks like we got a caller here calling us in, Rico. I'm going to have this caller join us in on the line. Welcome to the Truth About Chicago Sports with Rico and Mac. We're breaking down Chicago Cubs. We're breaking down Sky. Caller, welcome on and joining us on the air. Welcome, caller. Can you hear us? This is Marcus Mack at Truth About Chicago Sports.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So can I tell you what I think what's going on with the WNBA, the Women's Basketball Association?
Yes, you can, my friend. Please share me your thoughts.
Okay. So what is this white lady's name? Caitlin Clark. What is her name?
Caitlin Clark. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think she's a very dominant player, and because she's white, there's a lot of nervousness, apprehension that people are like, you know what? She's not going to enter our league because she's white. Do you agree with that?
I think that there was. I think that there was a lot of anger towards the media perception of the league, that it wasn't nothing until she showed up, and I think that that was a more of the issue, because make no mistake about it, Caitlin's got game, and she will be the best player in the WNBA at a certain point. It's only going to be a matter of time before she is the best out there. I see it. I see it as her game is already growing in this rookie campaign. And so it's an adjustment. It's like when Michael Jordan came to the league. When you've got better talent and people have been there before you, and all of a sudden now you're getting all the shine and hype, there's going to be a ton of jealousy. The skin factors, color of her being white, I don't think it was so much more of that as more of the bias towards the players and their preference towards who they date. Because you got to remember, Sue Bird was a great player in the WNBA, and she was white.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the players in the NBA or the WNBA, all around the world, we know that most of them are black, right? Their skin color is black, right? Okay, can we just agree to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you've got a white Casper, honky, cracker.
Calm down. Hey, whoa.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just wording. We're live on radio.
Okay, I'm sorry for the word. Okay, so you've got a non-black that's dominating the industry. I don't think people like that. They're like, hey, wait a minute. We've been around for a long time, and this white woman is not going to come into our league. And this white devil, she's not going to take over our league, right?
I think that in terms of nastiness towards, I think in terms of nastiness in terms of towards race, I don't want to paint that narrative, because
it's all about race. It's all about race. You know it's about race. Well, and you know what? There's no difference between your race and my race. We're all the same.
And that's what. And I think it's more. I think it's more about that in the W. I think they look at it more about that. Everyone is all the same. I think it's just more about a rookie getting more hype than what players were before them.
No. It's about a white.
Thank you once again for the call, and you have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
And once again, I was a caller calling in about Chicago sports. Rico, you see, he had his opinion about the Caitlin Clark narrative, and I think that to try to want to push the narrative of skin tone is just a little bit too far. Don't you agree, Rico?
So for me, what I get out of this, and this is for maybe folks that have paid attention to the NBA. Remember when Lonzo Ball, who is with the Chicago Bulls right now, first came into the NBA? There was a lot of hype by LeVar Ball, his father. In fact, he had made statements that he might even be better than Steph Curry. Remember that?
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of hype around Lonzo, who was extremely good, great in high school, and he was also great in college. And it was just like, man, is he going to be that good? I remember when he first got into the NBA, I think Patrick Beverley had the first assignment on him.
Yep.
And he made sure that he did a lot of talking, and he went right at Lonzo Ball. And I think that his entire rookie season, a lot of players were going at Lonzo because of the hype, right? And so I think that that is what's happening with Caitlin Clark. I think that there is so much hype generated with her being a generational player. And I think that that's with any player, whether it's a Zion Williams or whoever it is.
Whoever it is.
Whatever league you're going into, those players are going to want to see just how good you are, especially when the media has already crowned you as being a Hall of Famer or great. And I think that that's really what it all comes down to. And so when you see her getting touched up on these hard fouls and things like that, I think it's just people just merely testing her. I don't think it has anything to do with,
race,
tone of skin or anything like that. So that's just my personal opinion.
I agree. I think that the W like I said, because the fact of that, if you look at the history of the W, there's been successful players in the W that have not been black and have been at the top of the league and have been accepted after they came in and earned their stripes, just like Caitlin is doing the same way. I point out one thing I remember, and I know you do too. We're old enough to remember when LeBron James came in the league, and he was not welcomed with open arms. A kid whose games were being broadcast in high school, when he came into the league, he was met with tons of resistance. And a matter of fact, he still has no relationship with Michael Jordan because the way he was paraded into the league. That's a truth right there. Something that a lot of people have never paid attention to. But if you really know sports, you understand. And the reason why him and Michael never came on the same page is because Michael felt like he didn't earn all the flowers that he got coming into the league straight from high school. So it does nothing to do with skin tone when it comes to basketball. I think when it comes to basketball, it's more about, like you say, wanting to test you if they see that you come in with a ton of hype and wanting to see that you can earn it. And what we're seeing now is that Caitlin is doing that. Caitlin's earning it, and she's earning the respect of the players around the league.
Yeah, I mean, she's just letting her her play, just talk for her. And I mean, that's really how she's really been, throughout her career, dating back to college and everything. And as the stardom has really come around her, she's just locked in as a player. And I think that is one of the things too, again, that Stacey King was talking about on his podcast, is that Caitlin Clark is for real. She's figuring out how to play professional basketball now, and it's only going to get better.
And it's only going to get better.
And it's the same thing for Angel Reese as well. Like, it's only going to get better. Like, if they're doing these things as rookies, I promise you, it's probably going to be one of the best rivals in sports at the end of the day when you look at these two players.
At the end of the day, I see the potential for these two players to be 1 and 2 in terms of best players in the league. I mean, to already come out in a rookie season and do what they've done, and the fact that Angel doesn't have a shot really outside of being around the rim and has still been able to be as effective as she has really shown a great, tremendous upside for her. Once again, this is The Truth About Chicago Sports with Rico and Mac. We're sitting there breaking down Chicago Cubs, Chicago Sky. When we come back, we're going to be talking all Chicago Bears. We're going to be joined by Francisco Avila, sports reporter, sports writer, sports journalist. He's a Chicago sports journalist, going to be joining us so we can talk and break down the Chicago Bears 53-man roster, our predictions for the season, and what our hopes are. As this is The Truth About Chicago Sports with Rico and Mac. We love everyone that joins us. Please continue to give us your calls. We love when you call in. And once again, number is 847-931-1410. 847-931-1410. As when we get back from break, we're going to be sitting and breaking down Chicago Bears. And I know everybody wants to talk about the beloved Bears of this town. I know I do. Very excited for what's about to come. So everybody get your popcorn out. Is this The Truth About Chicago Sports?
Everyone has a community to lean on. A neighborhood, school, kids' teams, where you worship, work out, or any other place or group where you choose to belong. Communities can provide support when you need it, and even when you don't know you do. Like when it comes to preventing underage drinking and other substance use. You've talked with your kids and shared clear expectations, but you're not with them every minute. Your community members, friends and relatives, teachers and coaches, faith leaders, and other important adults in your kids' lives can be your eyes, ears, and a supportive influence when you're not around, reinforcing your messages with your kids and alerting you to warning signs of underage drinking or other substance use. So talk with your kids about these issues and involve the members of your community to help keep your kids safe. Because when you talk, they hear you.
Visit the Milwaukee County Zoo this summer to enjoy so many species of fun. Home to more than 2,200 animals, representing over 340 different species. The zoo educates, entertains, and inspires. Stomp back in time with the zoo's summer exhibit, Dinosaur Discovery, sponsored by Sendik's Food Market. You'll be astounded by the gigantic and scientifically accurate animatronic displays. Touch, feel, and learn about the role of predators in the ecosystem. Running through October 5th. Visit milwaukeezoo.org.
Rise and shine, Fox Valley listeners. It's time to kickstart your day with First Shift with Marky B on WRMN 1410 AM. From 6 to 9 a.m., join the chatter that gets you clued in with the latest buzz around town. Don't just sip on your coffee. Let Marky B brew your morning with the perfect mix of news, views, and moves. Dial us in or live stream at WRMN1410.com and make your mornings a whole lot brighter. WRMN 1410 AM. We're the voice of the Valley, and we're here to talk.
This is McGruff the Crime Dog, and I need you to help me take a bite out of crime. Counterfeit products are popping up everywhere. Fake sneakers, fake cosmetics, and even fake pills. Crooks are selling counterfeit versions of just about everything. Last year, billions of dollars worth of counterfeit products were sold in the U.S. Sure, it may seem like saving a few bucks on the things you want isn't a big deal, but counterfeits are usually made in unsafe conditions, potentially using hazardous and even lethal ingredients that could harm you and others. And the money you've paid, it goes right into the hands of criminals and may support child labor, drugs, and even gangs. Smells like big crime to me. So if you still think buying fake products is harmless, think again. And remember, if you don't know where the products came from, how could you know where the money goes? You're smart, buy smart. Go for real. Learn more at mcgruffpsa.org. This message is brought to you by the United States Patent and Trademark Office and the National Crime Prevention Council.
And welcome back to the show. This is The Truth About Chicago Sports with your hosts, Rico and Mac. We are going to break down Chicago Bears now at the break. But first, before we do that, it is time for the Mac Attack. And today, I'm going to Mac Attack the Bears' rivalry with Green Bay. It is time, as we get ready for this season to kick off on Sunday, it is time for the Bears to get back to being the monsters of the Midway. I need 2 victories over Green Bay this season. I don't care if you lose every other game. That's how disgusting it's been. That's how the drubbings have been. I am sick. Are you kidding me? Aaron Rodgers literally said he passed over ownership to Jordan Love of the Bears. This is embarrassing, and I am sick of it, and we're not going to take it anymore. It is time for the Chicago Bears to rise up and drub the Green Bay Packers and send that cheesehead team back to the north where they belong as losers for the rest of time. And this has been the truth about Chicago Sports Mac Attack. All right. Woo. Sorry about that, guys. I had to get that out my soul right there. Welcome to the show. We have guest Francisco Avila joining us. Guest Francisco Avila joining us. He is a Chicago journalist, sports journalist, and Chicago sports broadcaster. Francisco, welcome to Rico and Mac, Truth About Chicago Sports.
Yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm excited to talk about the Bears that's getting everyone hopeful here at Chicago.
Heck yeah, Rico. Now, Francisco got a chance to actually attend a couple practices, if I'm correct. And what was it like to get a chance to see Caleb up close?
Well, for me, like seeing all the hype around him, when I was also able to be there at the NFL draft party at the Chicago Bears, and it was crazy when everyone was going crazy when they saw Caleb was picked for us as #1 pick of the draft, and being able to see him up close. See Wrmn and the connection they have, and that it's going to keep on growing throughout the season. I think it's something that's getting everyone hopeful. And I know people from the past think that the hype is going to go out quick, but I think people from my generation see this is something that's finally going to give us some hope and finally probably give us a championship here at Chicago.
Excellent. Definitely, man. I love that. So as we look on this 53-man roster that got solidified on Tuesday of this past week, and now we know who we are set to go into battle every Sunday with. I know, Rico, you've been really high on DeAndre Swift. I myself have been kind of really leaning towards Roma Doomsday having that breakout offensive season for the Bears. Francisco, as our guest, tell me, who do you see having the breakout offensive season for the Chicago Bears?
I think for me, it's the punter.
Ooh.
I think for me, it's Oh, Tory Taylor. I think,
Yes.
like, I don't know if you guys have also seen Hard Knocks. Someone told me about it when I went to see the Bears training, and like I saw like how Ryan Poles was like praising him, how he's like someone who can really give us an advantage. He said he has all the ability. He has the ability to pin the ball inside the 10-yard line. He has the ability to make teams uncomfortable. So I really think he's like a secret weapon that can really give us an advantage.
Yes, indeed. I like that breakdown. Rico, go ahead while we got Francisco here. Go ahead and jump on in. Ask a couple questions. Let's talk Bears. What are you thinking about this season coming up, and what do you want to see?
Well, I mean, just the question, for our guest here, just getting a chance to look at some practices. We've talked about it on the show before about how impressive the Bears defense is going to be. Would you agree with the fact that the Bears defensive unit is going to be the better unit on this football team, even though the offense is absolutely much improved and going to be exciting for this season?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be something that's really going to help us this season. I know, like with Eberflus and all he's done in the past, it's something that people might not like expected something that's going to happen because we had like the worst NFL worst record, 3-14 record, and we weren't able to break that streak until week 5 of last season. So I think it's something that people are really like not expecting to have a really good defensive unit. But seeing the practices and seeing everything that the players have done, I really think we can like really cause a surprise and really do some damage offensively, but also keep the scoreline without receiving a touchdown defensively.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Rico, you bring up the defense, and that's a great point because I heard someone reference the defense last year and said how, we came out at opening game against the Packers and it was just a complete letdown. But here's the reality, Rico. It's not the same defense, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in reality, the Bears defense is much better. And one of the things that we haven't talked about is the fact that they went out and made that trade for Darrell Taylor. Right. So this is a player that's coming over from the Seahawks. I think that he's already said that he can feel the energy in the building. And I think, alongside of Montez Sweat, I think that he is going to be a terrific addition for the Bears. And Austin Booker has played extremely well over this preseason. And I think that I am really, really looking forward to what this front line is going to look like. And I think that they're going to be able to get home without calling a lot of blitzes, which is pretty scary for the rest of the NFL.
Yes, indeed. This is once again Rico and Mac and the Truth About Chicago Sports here on WRMN 1410, Studio 14 in Elgin, Illinois. We got our guest, Francisco Avila, joining us, sports journalist and Chicago sports broadcaster. All calls we will be taking after Francisco is done joining us for the show as our guest. But we will be taking still callers. Once again, phone number is 847-931-1410. 847-931-1410. So just stand by, callers. We will get to you guys shortly. So continuing on with the defense, one of the biggest concerns I've heard nationally, locally, if anything, that we really have to worry about is in the trenches. We know Montez Sweat is the playmaker. We are hoping that Dexter and Pickens can grow into perennial top players. I'm not going to say all-star, but let's just say perennial top players. And then we're looking from the opposite of Sweat on that defensive end, Austin Booker, Hardy, Dominique Robinson, DeMarcus Walker, and Darrell Taylor, one of those guys becoming that next real big playmaker. But here's the position that's been kind of getting left out, Francisco, and this even goes to Hard Knocks, where they weren't even talked about much, the linebacking core. What do you predict from our linebacking core, and do you feel that it's going to be an essential part to the defense becoming elite?
Yeah, I think that is also something that's going to be essential for us. Like I saw, like in the training, that was something that Eberflus and was also trying to implement. But also think like we're all like when we also talk about the defense and also the different players that we have, like we do have a lot of depth in this team, in this roster, which is also something that not only Caleb Williams, but also that's giving us a lot of hype as well. Because like we have Tyler Badgett, who's also a QB that shows promise and is also someone that we can rely on if Caleb isn't well or if something happens, like we saw in his game against the Chiefs and in his time when he was able to play against the Bengals. He provided really good performances. So I think not only like all the different players we have in linebackers, but I think all the different players we have in QB and running backs really have a lot of depth, which is something that can really help us throughout the season.
That is a great point, Rico. When it comes to our depth, how do you think? Do you think that Poles is done? Do you think that Poles has put this team in a position now to where we can make a real run?
Absolutely. I think he definitely has, just talking about the defensive additions, and you were just talking about the linebacker unit. I just got a chance to look, and it looks like that unit is ranked number 3 overall in the linebacker position. I mean, with the additions of Jermaine Edmonds, and then you have TJ Edwards coming over. Like, there's a lot of depth on the defensive end, but I think that the one thing that he has done well is he has put a lot of offensive playmakers out there with Caleb Williams, and they had some playmakers last season, but I think he's absolutely added to that. We talked about the crowded backfield, and look, if one of the running backs does go down, like if one of the running backs does go down, I think that you still have other running backs that you can go ahead and plug in. And wide receiver-wise, if Keenan Allen is injured, like he has been before in the past, which I'm not suggesting that's going to happen, you still have wide receivers that can step in and make some plays for Caleb Williams. So, yes, I think he has definitely addressed that this offseason.
Yes, indeed. And once again, this is The Truth About Chicago Sports with Rico and Mac on 1410 WRMN. We are joined by Francisco Avila, Chicago sports journalist and sports broadcaster. Francisco, before we let you go, final thoughts. Do you think Velus Jones is going to be a tremendous X factor, or was it a mistake keeping him on this roster?
I think he's going to be a tremendous factor for us. When I was able to speak with him during the press conference, like, he has so much joy. He brings not only his talent, but also the camaraderie and the kind of just like sportsmanship he brings to the team. He's someone who's always smiling, and also he also talked about his pet who recently passed away, and all that comes with him. And so I just think he brings a lot of talent, something unique to the team that can really help us scoring those touchdowns and really making a difference. And like I was saying, like Caleb, Bellis Jr., Austin Booker, like all these different players, they can really give us an edge. And I think we're really seeing something special brewing in Chicago.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And once again, Francisco Avila, Chicago sports journalist, Chicago sports broadcaster, joining us for The Truth About Chicago Sports. Thank you for joining Rico and Mac here in The Truth About Chicago Sports on WRMN 1410. We look forward to having you join us back again, brother. Next, we're going to be moving to Saturday. Every show is going to be moving to Saturday now, 10 to 12. So, yeah, I hope to have you back again.
Thank you for having me. And, yeah, I'm excited to come back.
Excellent. And before you go, where can people find you if they're looking for you, Francisco?
You can find me on Instagram, Francisco Avila _20, on Twitter as well, and on Facebook. And, yeah, I'm excited to be back soon.
Excellent. All right. Thank you for joining us, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you.
And, yes, once again, that was Francisco Avila joining Rico and Mac at The Truth About Chicago Sports. Rico, we're sitting here and we're on the cusp, man. I mean, we're on the cusp. We are 7 days away. Next week it's game time, right? And
Thursday.
Thursday starts the NFL, and then Sunday the Bears go. And I'll tell you, it's been a lot of talk, been a lot of hype, but I'll tell you what, man, I am ready for us to go. Looks like we got a caller here. We'll get a caller joining in. So a caller coming in, talked about little Chicago Bears with us.
All right.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. This is Rico and Mac, Truth About Chicago Sports.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for giving us a call.
So this is Charlie. Can I ask you a question?
Charlie, ask me a question.
You're one of the whitest black men I've ever seen.
Charlie, I don't know what that means, but let's talk Bears. What do you got for the Chicago Bears?
You know, can I be honest with you? I don't follow the Bears.
All right. Sorry about that, caller. You got accidentally dropped, it looks like, apparently, so apologize for that. Next caller, please call in 847-931-1410. Join us, Rico and Mac, Truth About Chicago Sports, as we're sitting here talking and breaking down Chicago Bears. So, Rico, we were talking and we asked Francisco about Velus Jones, and he says he thinks he's going to add tremendous upside. What's your feeling on Velus? Do you think it was the right move to keep him on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. With the ability to make plays, using that speed, I think that at this point in time in the NFL, you want players like that. You want players that you can go out there and you can put them in different situations, whether it's lining them up at running back, whether it's lining them up at the slot, whatever it looks like. I mean, just think about all the creative ways that Andy Reid draws up plays for running backs, wide receivers. Think of the stuff that he's done with Tyreek Hill in the past, and even look at some of the stuff that is going on with the Dolphins. It's a lot of window dressing, as they say, but you need players like this that can make that defense shift, and you can get them into favorable matchups. So I think that, yes, the more you add those type of playmakers to your offense, the more dynamic you're going to be. And I think it just opens it up a lot more for Caleb Williams.
Yes, I agree. And, there was a lot of people that really questioned him being on the rosters, didn't feel like he should make the 53-man roster. But I just felt like he did. Me personally, I felt like he showed enough, especially in those preseason games, to where you could see still some value and potential from Velus being a playmaker on his team. And like you say, being able to just be another weapon for Caleb Williams to be able to utilize. I'm really looking forward to the offense in general, because just the fact of the dynamic breakdown of it all. I mean, you've got DJ Moore, Wrmn, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, and now you throw a Velus Jones with a Keenan Allen. Wow. Is there enough footballs to go around?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good problem to have, I think, offensively. And again, like I said, it's one of those things where you wanted I remember back when the Rams, right, when Kurt Warner had all those offensive weapons out there with the wide receiver core, stuff like that. And even though, it was not necessarily, everybody's day, I think that just the fact that they were able to open it up like that, I think it allows you to just take your offense to another level. It almost puts you into like a fast break offense, because you have so many ways that you can beat a defense, and it really wears a defense out, especially if you're able to move them from side to side, which I think that is what the Bears are going to be able to do this year. They weren't able to do that last year. I think that they were pretty much a grinded out type of team, So I think that you're going to see them open it up on defenses and really wear defenses down throughout the course of the game, because they have so many options.
Yes, indeed. I was hearing predictions going on in other local stations and even national stations, and I really started thinking. I even last week made the prediction that I believe that the Bears could get 11 wins, and I broke it down to where they have to finish 500 on the road, no less than 500 on the road, and then now you're looking at potentially having to win 7 games at home. And if you can be over 500, now, okay, 6 games you win at home. And if you look at the schedule, it's very reasonable. But here's the thing beyond a schedule, hype, all that. The reason why I'm looking at the Bears winning 11 games is because I can't keep getting past the fact of, if now this is health is going to have to play a big part. It's the matchups, Rico. The Bears win so many of these matchups if you break them down position by position. How many times is Keenan Allen going to lose his matchup? How many times is DeAndre Swift going to lose his matchup? How many times is Wrmn going to lose his matchup? DJ Moore going to lose his matchup? You see, it goes deeper than just, okay, we're out here on the field and we're running around. Everybody's matched up against a player. And you got to ask yourself, how many times is this player going to lose that matchup as opposed to winning it? And then you flip it on the defensive side of the ball. How many times do you think Montez Sweat is going to lose this matchup? How many times do you think Tremaine Edwards or TJ Edwards, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Jaquan Brisker, how many times do you think they're going to lose their matchups in a game as opposed to winning their matchups? And that's why I feel like when you look at that And then you throw in the backups on top of these players if there are injuries, where I see solid people like a Jonathan Owens, Andrew Billings, Jack Sanborn. Then you go on the offensive side of the ball, Tyler Scott, Velus Jones, Roshan Smith, Caleb Herbert. I feel like the Bears are going to win a lot more matchups on those fields than they're going to lose, and that's going to produce winning football.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, for a team that has so much hype, I think that they're almost identical to what's going to go on with the Jets this season. And I say that in the sense that the Bears defense was so good. And I'm saying to myself, if they could just get an offense to generate anywhere from 21 to 24 points a game, I could see a lot of those losses that they had go to wins. And I just saw enough in preseason that suggests that this offense is going to be able to put up points. And just the sheer fact that if the defense is just as good as it was last season, which actually I think it might have gotten better, which is scary, I think they're going to be able to generate some turnovers. And yes, I could see where the Bears could now be on the rise in this particular division, which I think might be one of the toughest divisions in all the NFL right now, with the way that these teams have kind of grown a little bit, because you got the Bears, you got Green Bay, you got the Lions. Like, that division is tough.
Yes, indeed, it is. It's a battle. The NFC North is going to be one of the best divisions in football. We're talking potentially 3 teams making the playoffs, with the Lions, Bears, and the Packers. I know. Now, here's the funny part about it. I can't really understand some of the fear of Minnesota, although I do look at it and say, yeah, Minnesota is a team that you're going to have to be concerned with. They're not going to be somebody to walk over. But I have no faith in Sam Darnold. And after J.J. McCarthy went down, to me, that would be the equivalent of if Caleb went down. I mean, how could we sit and really think like, oh, the Bears would now be a playoff team with Tyson Bagent at the helm? You would hope they would stay competitive. But I think that'd be real false to be leaning on that, saying, wow, a guy who's basically proven to be a career backup, and that's what Sam Darnold has proven to be, is that to say he's going to be able to lead this Minnesota Vikings team, which is devoid of a good deal of talent on the defensive side of the ball, to this top place, when I just don't see them being better than the Bears, the Lions, or the Packers. And honestly, and I know I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, but I feel like the Bears are better than the Packers now currently. And I know we haven't seen Caleb throw a pass yet in the NFL, but my belief is that he is better than Justin Fields. They would not have drafted him. They would not have cut Justin if they did not believe that he was better. Average quarterback play got us 7 wins last year. I believe that Caleb's quarterback play is going to be above average. I'm not saying Pro Bowl. I believe above average. That's 11 wins right there to me, Rico.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they are for sure trending above 7 wins. And that was with just the average quarterback play, and the fact that they didn't have as much offensively. And I think that the playbook has changed a lot more. And I think that when you see that when they were in that 3rd and I think 13 or something like that, and they let Caleb Williams throw it and they didn't just tell him to hand it off, that tells me that the Bears are going to be aggressive. All right. And so that reminds me a lot of when Matt Nagy came over and he took over, and the Bears, I think, did they make the playoffs that year, or it was like
the first year, the double doink.
All right, so the double. Okay, so just going back and remember how open that offense was, right? Because he was bringing a lot of that stuff over from the Chiefs and everything else, and then they got figured out and all that. But this is going to be that type of year where I think Caleb Williams is going to be unlocked. And yes, he doesn't have to be a Pro Bowl quarterback. We're not saying that. But if he is better than, say, and nothing against him, but better than like a Zach Wilson, which I'm pretty sure that's going to happen in year 1, and he's going to be a player that can stay upright. It looks like offensively with the offensive line, they're going to be able to protect him and buy him enough time to climb the pocket and make some huge plays. Like, you're going to see something extra special from the Bears this year. And going back to what you were talking about with Minnesota, they're probably going to be in that 7-win total. You know what I mean? Because with Sam Darnold, he's been a journeyman in the NFL, and they just don't have that stability at the quarterback play that they have with Kirk Cousins. So that's going to be incredibly tough on Justin Jefferson and those wide receivers to make plays because, their quarterback play is going to be up and down.
Yes, once again, I agree with that assessment big time. Great breakdown. Great show, Rico. Thank you for joining, man. Again, I always love when you're here with me as we sit here in Studio 14, WRMN 1410 AM. Elgin, Illinois. This has been another great show of The Truth About Chicago Sports with Rico and Mac. We've broke down Cubs, Sky, and Bears. Once again, remember, we are moving to Saturday, 10 to 12, every Saturday starting next week, September 7th, 10 to 12 p.m. Central Time. The Truth About Chicago Sports featuring Rico and Mac. We want to thank everyone for joining us again this week. Brother Rico, I love, man, when you're here.
And man, I appreciate you having me on, and I just can't wait to get started for the 2-hour show that we have and talking a lot of sports.
Yes, indeed. We're going to be locked and loaded and enjoying. So to all our listeners out there, thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for our callers. We love when you guys can come and join us for the show. This has been The Truth About Chicago Sports. Have a good day.
By love of food and wellness, Mockingbird Bar and Garden of East Dundee encourages you to eat seasonal and clean while still indulging a bit. Whether food is served fresh or wood-fired, nothing is overcomplicated. Mockingbird Bar and Garden promises to give your palate something delicious and new and aspires to be a hive of buzz and activity. Start your weekend with an espresso or